Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, September is upon us.
Yeah, like a vengeance, isn't it?
People are back in school.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to a year ago, when things were so confusing, things are confusing again this year, but they are opening up a little bit.
Yes.
And we've had the good people from the Encore Center on the show a couple of times this year. And last year when we had them on, they were always talking about how they were going to fit perhaps a scaled-down production into their schedule to accommodate COVID. This year, they've had this year many productions already, and they're starting September with one of my favorite plays of all time called Steel Magnolias.
Yes, you talk about that play often.
Loved it. I mean, loved it. Saw it in the 80s in New York. It was made into a very iconic movie, which I think most people are familiar with. The play was better. It wasn't even close. And people who go to see the show are going to laugh. They're going to cry. The play features only the iconic female characters, and it's all shot inside the beauty salon. And everything you know about all the men in their lives is only through their conversation about them, which is 10 times more interesting than listening to guys talk. And that's what makes Steel Magnolia so magical. It's going to be at the Encore Center September 9th through the 19th. And we're being joined today to talk about it with artistic director Jacob TOTH and 2 of the 6 characters who are going to be playing. And the Sally Field character that was in the movie that everybody knew, her name was Malin, and she is being played by Arlene McCue, who is sitting with us at the middle of the table. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
As we get into the show, you and I have something in common we're going to talk about, which I did not realize. And to her left, the Olympia Dukakis character, who is the mayor's wife, Clary, being played by Janet Smith. And Janet, this is not your first foray into production, right? You came in and you auditioned for the show.
I did. It's my second play.
That's fine. Have either one of you seen the play or just the movie, Steel Magnolias?
Just the movie for me.
Okay.
Well, I've seen the play because that was my first play.
It was your first play.
Yeah.
Well, Jacob Toth, who's sitting to my left, has a talent for kind of picking the right plays at the right time for all the right reasons. And Jacob, I want to talk to you about Steel Magnolias, but the last time we had you were on with Laura Morgan, who you've cast in a couple of productions this year.
Exactly.
But there's some news about Laura Morgan I think you might want to share.
Yes, our dear friend Laura Morgan was just crowned Miss Senior America, I guess. Yeah, she was Miss Senior North Carolina, and she's now Miss Senior America, and that was announced Sunday night. Was the virtual filming of it, and she's been on our stage a couple times. She's an amazing, talented woman, and
yes,
we are so proud of her and so happy.
One of, I think, Arlene, you said you had seen her in Love Letters.
Yes.
You saw how animated she was, and she had a great singing voice. You got a little snippet of it during that, which caught me off guard. Very talented lady, and a humble lady. So she had to go through the Zoom process instead of going to Atlantic City.
Exactly.
somewhat limited again.
Mm-hmm. She actually came to the Encore Center and filmed her talent portion of it on our stage.
Did she?
Yeah, because they had to do an interview on Zoom, and then they had to film their talent and send it in, and film their statement or their, what they were representing, and sent it all in. And then Sunday night, she had a bunch of people over at our house, and you can see her video on Facebook and of them announcing it and her hearing it for the first time. And it's just, gives you chills.
So tell me, Jacob, because you selected Steel Magnolias, you have been in productions yourself. You've traveled quite a bit. You've settled in Southern Pines. You're with the Encore Center in a big way. Tell me about Steel Magnolias and why you selected it, and what people are going to see during the 9th, from the 9th through the 19th.
It's such a touching story, and at this time, especially with everything going on in the world, I think we needed just a moment to laugh and to cry and to come together. It's a beautiful story. It's actually based on a true story. The author, Robert Harling, his sister, Susan Harling Robinson, passed away from type 1 diabetes and complications with childbirth. She did have a kidney transplant from a family member, so it's all based on truth. And he didn't want to write it about the men because it was so important to him about this sisterhood. And when you bring men into the picture, that sisterhood is lost.
Right.
And so it's just something that is so prevalent and so, all these women are real people and everyone can relate to that.
It's true what he said. You have two women talking together. A guy walks in the room. The conversation becomes so banal. It's so, not important. The guy leaves, they go back to talking again, and they're making movement, right?
Exactly. And like you said, it's all set in Truvy's hair salon.
That's right.
Which the movie goes to many different locations all over the place. So this hair salon, it's so I remember growing up with my mother and going to the hair salon with her every once in a while. And,
I did too.
Women's hair takes a long time. But just to see these women interact with each other, they can be themselves and they talk and, they go from sailor talk to gossiping to crying to all the joys that they're experiencing through the week. So it's a place that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, I'll age myself and tell you when my mom dragged me as a kid to the hair salon, it was when the women had to put these helmets on when they were done with the hair blowing everywhere. And I thought, what is this all about? And can we go and can I get an ice cream? The conversation amongst the women spurs the imagination and really makes the play hit home on so many important levels.
Absolutely. He wanted to write, of course, he wanted to write it in tribute of his sister and for his nephew, which was actually named after him. And so what he did is he hurried and wrote the whole thing in 10 days. He just sat and
I didn't know
wrote
that.
it. Yeah, 10 days he wrote the whole play. And he wanted it to be, the whole cycle of a woman's life. So it goes from birth to marriage to pregnancy to death. And the women deal with all of these things in the show. It's done in 4 scenes, 2 scenes in the first act and 2 scenes in the second act. It spans 3 years of time. And, it goes very quickly when you're sitting there talking about it because all these women are just having real conversations with one another and how they deal with each of these different milestones in their lives.
It's very funny.
Absolutely.
It's very poignant. Some of it is very thought-provoking and tearful.
Absolutely.
All within 5 minutes of each other, right?
Yeah.
So the audience is going from here to here, and they get completely taken in. So people who are going to come are going to see these 6 actresses on the stage in one set, which, by the way, Steel Magnolias is a great setup for the Encore Center because you don't have 5 or 6 sets.
Exactly.
You keep your costs down. You guys at the Encore Center have made a lot of inroads in the community in the last year and a half or so. I think it's been almost 2 years since I first met you. And where you are today compared to where you were 2 years ago?
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Miles. This season in particular, because of everything that's been going on, I did want to keep all of our shows smaller in the sense that it's one set. It's a smaller cast. It's only 6 women.
Right.
And all of our shows this season are going to be that way. It's going to be smaller. We're keeping our numbers in the audience a little bit smaller.
What will the maximum be for the audience?
The maximum for this show, I believe we said 82, 86, 82,
remember.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Oh, that's much higher than it was.
It's much higher than when you were on stage with us, exactly.
Yes.
But it's still not full capacity at all for us.
Right.
So we're still keeping in tune with, what's going on in the world and trying to keep everyone safe and distanced a little bit. And yet, it's going to be a great show.
How many? Okay, September 9th to the 19th. How many shows are you going to be doing?
It's actually 8 shows altogether. And I actually think it's September 10th through the 19th.
Oh,
because it's Friday, Saturday,
Friday,
Sunday,
yes.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So, so it's a Friday night show at 7:30. Saturday, an afternoon show at 2 o'clock, and then an evening show at 7:30, and Sunday at 2 o'clock. And that's both weekends.
Okay, so it runs over 2 weekends.
Yes.
Gotcha. How long have you guys been in rehearsal so far?
A week ago today,
Yeah.
started
That's exactly
last
right.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
It's a different type of exhausting, isn't it?
it is.
I agree.
I mean, it's not something we're used to, right? It takes over your life. It doesn't it?
Oh, I find
does.
myself answering my family with lines.
Yes.
So, yes.
So
Is something the matter?
so you have a lot of lines to memorize, a lot. I mean, and the banter back and forth between the characters, it's so quick. The timing is so important in the execution of the dialogue, right?
Absolutely.
You think I sound like
It's like you're an actor.
yeah, right. But people who haven't seen it, and yes, it's a Southern thing, but it's really not. But the name Steel Magnolias has taken on a whole new life beyond the play, because it characterizes, and the Malin character that you play, Arlene, probably is the premier Steel Magnolia in the play, right?
I would agree with that.
And you have to be loving, tender, tough. With Shelby, who is your daughter in the play, you have to be on her, monitor her, worry about her, but then be tough enough to not let her overtake her get wrapped up too much in herself, right?
Yes.
So you have a lot of emotions you have to exhibit. And this is your first foray?
It is.
Okay.
I'm not a stranger to the stage. I grew up dancing
Did you?
and have always loved the theater. I raised a theater kid with Jacob. I've known him an awfully long time.
Okay.
And he's had an incredible influence on her life as well.
Is that right?
Yes.
How old is your daughter?
She's 19, she'll be 20 in November, and she's leaving for her sophomore year at Seton Hall University in New Jersey tomorrow. So I get to have all those emotions for real.
I know Seton Hall. So you met Jacob through your daughter's training?
I did.
Okay. And he approached you and had this preconceived notion that you were Malin. No one could tell him anything, by the way.
I'll let him answer that.
Yeah,
I actually
I
have
wanna-
no one to blame except myself.
Okay.
Because I actually got this little hair when I learned that it was your first time, and Laura was fairly new, at
Right.
least to acting, and I saw that production, and when I heard Steel Magnolias and knew it was all women, it was kind of fly by the seat of my pants, but Jacob was like, yes!
Yeah. Right.
You come audition. And I said, oh, Jacob, can I do this? Yes! So here I am.
So you're pretty animated. I mean, you're very animated. I mean, you're not uncomfortable in your own skin. I can see that. But the difference was, I didn't have to memorize a line. I just had to read letters. You have to, your dialogue, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Malin's character the one that has the most interactions with all the other characters?
She does.
She's
Yep.
got to be. She's like the lightning rod.
She drives a lot of the scenes, definitely.
Yeah. So there's a lot to memorize. I didn't have to memorize a thing. I screwed up walking on the stage. Right. I mean, I couldn't do any of it. I had 2 left shoes. But you have a lot. It's life changing to do what you're doing.
I believe it is.
Right.
I'll let you know in a couple more weeks, but yes, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because again, having never done it before, it is difficult to start memorizing those lines or to get that comfort level. And we're not there yet, although Clary is doing beautifully.
Yep.
The last 2 rehearsals, we're to the point where we can laugh with and at each other when we do make a little mistake. And I think for me, that's really kind of settled me down and made me feel like, okay, these are my friends. We have each other's backs. And now, I mean, obviously you do it every day. The story isn't a story anymore. It's becoming who I am. And so now yes, you had to memorize, but the triggers are there because you're in that story.
Yeah, I would never think this was her first time. So to make people understand, just for both of you, so you are playing the Sally Field character, because that's how people think about Steel Magnolias. And Janet, you're playing the Olympia Dukakis character, who was a great actress.
Yes.
People who remember her will remember her in Moonstruck. They'll remember her in Steel Magnolias. She was iconic. How did you and Jacob hook up?
I think I called the Encore Center and I said I'd be interested in being in a production.
Oh.
Having had one play under my belt, I figured I was an expert. And in Laurinburg, I was in a play in Laurinburg. So I thought, I'm going to spread my wings, and
Good for you.
They said, well, we're having this one day of auditions for all the productions for the year.
Right.
So I signed up and showed up, and that's when I met Jacob. And I said, this is my first real audition. What do you want me to do?
How much time do you spend at home in between the rehearsals, reading your lines and playing it through? Because there's so many, your character with Weezer, the two of you create your own synergy throughout the show. You love each other, but you're at each other all the time.
Yeah, we're just kind of poking at each other.
All the time.
Yeah.
With sarcasm and understated humor. And people have to listen because, I mean, some cutting. You have to be a foil to Weezer's character, who's a little more aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's...
and you're delightful. Your character is delightfully spoiled, right?
Yeah.
Clary, the mayor's wife.
Well, yes. No, she... yes, she is that way, but she's got kind of a tongue-in-cheek...
Right.
And approach to things, and she, has these kind of low-flying barbs that come through.
That's exactly right. What was the one where she Olympia Dukakis' character, right? Clary said, if you have nothing nice to say about somebody, come and sit by me.
Sit by me.
Right, tongue in cheek. Let's cut out and come back in the second set. We're going to talk in depth all about Steel Magnolias, what a great play it was, how people should really come to see this. It's great timing. September is a great time to kick into the fall season. And the people who have not discovered the Encore Center will have a great opportunity to see a real feel-good, touching play with a lot of local people that everyone seems to know. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. Our friends at the Encore Theater are putting on the production, the play of Steel Magnolias, September 10th through the 19th. The Encore Center has made inroads in our area with actors and actresses, singers and dancers of all ages. Jacob, from how young to how old?
Our youngest class is actually babies, because we do kinder music classes in our studio side of the theater. And we have women. Arlene actually teaches our tap dance for women of a certain age.
And I'm going to take it.
Oh, excellent. See?
Is that right?
Yeah.
That is right. My oldest student is 81.
So
What? That's not me.
we run the gamut.
Sounds like chair yoga. No.
Oh, it is not.
It is not.
It is
chair
not.
It's girls
yoga.
tap dance.
But that's
They-
really important.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great way to move around.
It's
and
so fun.
Yeah,
It's fun to come down and watch her class. I just sit on the outside and watch.
that expression, motion is lotion, and it's true. It doesn't matter how old you are, right? And it does keep you young.
And it's so good for your mind as well and your mental acuity. You're memorizing steps, patterns,
Right.
choreography.
Right. You sure this is the first time you've ever done this?
I'm sure.
Can you attest for that? I mean, is that true?
That's what she has said.
So
I would
do you coach her? Are you guys? So have you all? It's really interesting since the play is all about a sisterhood and it's about shared values and love for each other, even though there is a lot of conflict. Do you all find that because you didn't know each other before you started this? So tell me, how is that evolving with the five of you?
I would say we have really come together, and we know things about each other, and
sure.
We and at this point we really are, as you said, we have each other's backs, and I know I can rely on Arlene to give me the cue and so we kind of care about each other. What happened to you today in school? Did you have, you're taking your daughter to college, how are things going? And it's a good back and forth. And now I will say that Arlene last night made me laugh, and I was trying to be very, very serious.
Did you all have a practice last evening?
No.
Oh, excuse me.
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago.
Two nights
off
ago.
yesterday.
Yes.
Oh.
And
right.
And I was being just what I was supposed to do, and she was like.
Yeah.
It's a line that's not supposed to be funny.
Right.
No, not at all.
But it strikes me as literally the funniest line in the play.
Which one?
It's we have just done the scene where they found out that Shelby is having a kidney transplant and I'm giving her one of my kidneys.
Right. Okay.
And Clary comes up into my face and tells me how selfish I am because I haven't told them before this. And that just strikes me. I mean, it speaks volumes, I think, about these ladies
and their
relationship.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it just strikes me as like, here I'm giving up my kidney to my daughter who's really, physically suffering, and she's telling me I'm selfish.
So that's something I'm going to have to overcome. So I'm looking right at her.
The Clary character is the most delightfully spoiled character of all.
Well, she's in charge.
She lives in her own world. It's like it's her world, and then Weezer tries to get into it, and the two of them are like so diametrically opposed on so many things philosophically, and yet they love each other. And it's touching, and you're watching it, and all of a sudden you get caught up in that emotion, and that is what they remember about their friends, the people they grew up with, the experiences they shared. Steel Magnolias is magical, and it resonates with people, and men like it. When Hollywood took it over, they made it for the big screen, and they said, here, we don't want you to think. We just want to entertain you. We'll just put all the characters out there, right? I mean...
They did. And it's funny, because everything you're talking about, the author was very adamant on doing all the juxtapositions. So all these characters are together. Weezer and Clary are together for a reason, because of showing the opposites. And the mother and daughter have these conflicts and then resolutions. And even the way that they look at class, because you have Clary and Weezer who have all this money, and you have the Eatontons who are upper middle class, and then you have Annelle who has nothing. So it's just all these things that it explores.
Tell me about the Annelle character and where she fits into the psychology, because she is sort of the odd character out.
Yeah, it's
that was a Daryl Hannah character.
It is, and it's a vehicle to make the Truvy character mother-like, because Truvy has these two boys who are basically worthless, and a husband who lays on the couch all the time. Right. So they introduce this Annelle character who becomes a second daughter, or a second child, or a third child, I guess, to Truvy, and gives us Truvy's matronly side, or her motherly side, I guess. So she's important to show us that. She also actually does the most transforming through the show. Right. Because she comes in as this dowdy young girl, and then she becomes the, sexy, hot number because she's exploring for the first time. And then all of a sudden she goes on a church retreat and becomes just very, conservative and dowdy again. And then in the last scene, she's pregnant. And she's the one that at the end of the show says, Malin, we'd like to name our child after Shelby. Right. So it's just this full circle with her, Right.
What? Talk a little bit about all the productions of the play, as well as the characters cast in the movie, there seems to be a very close physical resemblance to the characters. I've looked at a couple of casts on Google of the play, and I look at Arlene, and I can see Sally Field. I look at Janet, and I can see Olympia Dukakis.
Oh, good gracious!
Well,
Thank you.
but there seems to be and you did a very nice thing. You supplied us with pictures of all the 6 actresses alongside the movie characters, because that's what most people know.
Absolutely. It's funny. I think these characters, because they're real women, they kind of fall into a category that people that are like them kind of look like that. You know, Arlene is a mother, and she has this beautiful daughter, and she has that relationship, and I don't know, she just kind of embodies Malin for me. And then Clary has this carriage about herself that Janet has. Janet came into auditions dressed to the nines with these heels on. And I mean, she may have been going for a certain role, I don't know, but she just had this way about her that was very Clary. And I think there are people that just have that. The woman playing Truvy, Teresa Thomas, actually does hair, because these women do hair on stage.
Is that right?
Arlene gets her hair washed on stage every night.
Do you really?
Yes.
We haven't done it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. One less thing I have to do at home.
There you go.
Jacob, how many productions have you been in charge of in the last year and a half or so?
Oh, wow. I guess it's been about 7 of them.
Okay.
We did 3 productions this summer with the kids. We did kid camps. We did Matilda and Moana Jr. Twice.
Right.
And then before that, we did Smoke on the Mountain.
Right.
We did Love Letters. We started the year with Elf the Musical, and then went into James and the Giant Peach. So busy.
So in between the lines, as I'm watching you speak, I would venture to say that doing Steel Magnolias is probably, or could be, a great opportunity, because it has a chance to resonate with the most more demographics than any other production that you've done.
Absolutely. It's one of those shows that, even though it's all about women and only women in the show, so many men can relate to it, because they have wives and mothers and daughters that go to a hair salon and you know, go through all of this stuff.
Right. You did a couple of children productions. Love Letters was really for the baby boomer, the civic generation. Younger people might not understand that. But Steel Magnolias has so much universal appeal.
Very widespread.
And the life lessons that the play talks about. You walk out of the play and you feel good. You feel like there's a completion with the characters that you grow to love. All of them, by the way, right? It's not like there's one in there that's an antagonist. You have 6 protagonists. It's an unusual play. I hope you draw the most broad-based audience.
We do too.
Right, and I think that's what you're kind of hoping
Absolutely. We want to get some. Well, we're heading into our 3rd season. This is only our 3rd season.
Right.
So believe it or not, there's still people around here that have never heard of the Encore Theater.
Right.
So we are trying to get the name out there and trying to do something that will bring in new people and make a name for ourselves. And this is one of those shows that it's been translated into 17 different languages. So literally, it's so wide-reaching. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You'll never forget this experience. It will stay with you like it will always have been just yesterday. And that's one of the nice things that come out of this. And I think people will really gravitate towards it. The timing couldn't be better. Tell me about the tickets, prices. You have 8 shows for each weekend.
Correct. So you can check us out at EncoreCenter.net to find out all about it. But our tickets are $17.50 to $25. As we said, there's Friday night 7:30. Saturday there are 2 shows, 2:00 in the afternoon and 7:30 in the evening, and Sunday at 2:00. Both weekends, the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and then the 17th, 18th, and 19th. We are doing something new this season. Opening night, there is a limited, I think there's only 16 of them, but there's 16 VIP tickets for $50. But for that $50, you're going to get a cocktail party before the show.
Right.
You get seating down front with tables and chairs. You get a charcuterie platter for the show.
Right.
And then afterward, we're going back into a cocktail reception where all of the actresses will be there for you to meet.
Nice.
So
that's very nice, actually.
Yes. And it's only going to happen on opening night on the 10th. And like I said, there's only 16 tickets being sold for that, but it's going to be a great little experience.
Local theater is very organic, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Southern Pines, Pinehurst, it's a very organic, it's a small town atmosphere, and it becomes intimate. This will follow suit.
Absolutely.
One of the things about the Encore Center that I really like is they try to step out and they try to partner with local businesses to help grow their business and make it a win-win situation. And
we truly believe that, small town, it takes a village. So it takes all of us working together.
Right. Right. The Encore Center has a production of Steel Magnolias from the 10th of September through the 19th. We're going to come back in the third set, talk more with Arlene McCue, who plays Malin, the Sally Field character. That's why I have to identify her. And Janet Smith, who plays Clary, the mayor's wife, known as the Olympia Dukakis character. Great play. I can't wait to see it. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County, talking all about Steel Magnolias and the Encore Theater production coming up September 10th through the 19th. Arlene and Janet, I want to talk to you a little bit because sometimes we do the show. I don't have intimate knowledge of the topics, right, that come up. I mean, we have great guests who come on and talk about a whole lot of different things, and I sit here like just learning, listening. I loved Steel Magnolias. I saw it 9 times.
Oh, my goodness.
Back in the 80s. I was in the jewelry business and had a showroom in New York City. And during market weeks, we would take out the buyers, the costume jewelry buyers from all over the country, to dinner and a show or whatever, to entertain. And I think it was 1987. I had a lot of buyers in town, and so I didn't want to do something different every night because the stress would be too much. So I picked a restaurant, and I picked a show, and I went 9 times in a row to the same restaurant and the same show. And I didn't have to think about the logistics of getting people in a limo service or a cab service. And I fell in love with Steel Magnolias at the Lucille Lortel Theater. And I brought a picture. I shared a picture with Jacob about it. And by the 9th time, the cast members, I would wave and say hello, and they had me up on stage. I was like a fan. And they told me that night that they had just cast the movie, and they told me who the actresses would be. And I thought, I can't wait to see it. And I remember the night they brought me up there, I was with, her name was Gloria Ray. She was the Burdines buyer out of Florida, which was a Federated department store at the time. And Gloria looked at me, Bill, you're making me queasy. Why are you getting up on stage with these people after that? Why are we hanging around this theater? Lucille Lortel Theater was gorgeous. And it always stayed in my brain. So when Jacob told me about the production, I sent him that picture. And both your characters, and I was a big fan of Olympia Dukakis and Moonstruck. I mean, so many things that she did. And Sally Field, from the time she was in Gidget to Absence of Malice, there were so many different plays. And you look like her. I will tell you, you do. You have the same, I don't know, the posture, the demeanor. And
thank you.
Yeah, you do. And she was a strong, your character is so strong, right, and so resilient, right?
Yes.
And I get that in real life you probably are too.
I'd like to think so. That is true.
Huh?
I would like to think so.
I think so. True. I think so too. Yeah. And you don't have to shout it out. It's just quiet confidence, right?
Oh, sometimes I shout.
With that voice, how can you shout?
You can ask my husband.
Is that right?
No, I'm kind of teasing, but I'm from New Jersey, so we tend to be very loud.
Where from New Jersey are you?
I grew up in Hightstown, New Jersey, which is very central, about 30 minutes from the shore and about 45 minutes from Newark.
Yeah.
An hour from the city.
Yeah. I grew up in Bergen County, and then I lived in the main line in Philadelphia after college for about 8 or 9 years. But you don't have the New Jersey accent, thank God, right?
I do not. My mother does. It comes out sometimes, I think, but I don't. I don't know why. Most of my family does.
How did you get to Moore County?
Oh my gosh, do we have all day?
Sure.
No. My husband and I started visiting here actually even before we were married because my husband's parents retired in Pinehurst in the late 80s.
Okay.
And so we visited here for all those years. My husband is an avid golfer.
There you go.
We were both in the United States Marine Corps as judge advocates, so we knew we would eventually have to find a place to retire.
Yeah.
In the meantime, my parents were also looking for a place to retire. Fast forward to about that time, we're in Okinawa, Japan. I'm having a baby. And we decided, we really do want to be close to family. So North Carolina being a very military-friendly state.
Yep.
And in the meantime, my parents went ahead and discovered Foxfire and bought a lot out there and sent us all of the information. So we did the same and got here in 2008.
I was just going to ask. And now you're sending your daughter back to New Jersey for college, right?
Yes, Seton Hall, New Jersey.
So
or Seton Hall University in South Orange, New Jersey.
That's right. So just living in New Jersey for 4 years is a college education. But she's going to get to go to classes as well.
She is. It is completely open right now, and we're obviously hoping it stays that way. She's in the School of Nursing. And you've interviewed her, by the way.
Yes, you have.
For Olivia McCue. She was Alice in Addams Family.
Yeah, with the Temple Theater.
Oh,
that was at the high school.
Oh, at the high school.
At the high school. Pinecrest Players.
Yes, you're right.
Oh, my goodness.
The blonde, also very animated.
What character did she play?
She played Alice, the neurotic mom.
Oh, God. When you do something for 12 years, you don't remember every show, but that is great. We love having the kids on, and we love having the students, right? They're just so unlayered. They just are just there, right?
Yes.
And it's a privilege to see. Janet, are you a native of Moore County, or did you?
No, my grandparents built a house here in Pinehurst in 1957, before I was born. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. And I lived in Ohio, and I grew up coming down here. And then my parents retired here in 1987.
Okay.
And I came down and married a very nice man who's still here. And we had a wonderful child, and then we divorced. But so now I'm in Laurinburg with my new husband. But
Gotcha.
I have watched Pinehurst and Southern Pines grow, and
the cool thing about new beginnings, right, and living here and doing things like when I did the love letters, I thought he was crazy, and you doing Melinda. So there's something about new beginnings. You keep adding chapters, to your book. And it's not an age thing. It's just an experience thing. And the more the merrier. And then you just have these perspectives. We always tell people, as you get older, your eyesight is not as good, but your vision gets better and better and better. And that's kind of what's happening. And you guys are willing to step out and do this. And it takes courage. But you'll know people in the audience who know you, right? And see you in a role, right, that you have not been in before, perhaps, in front of them. It just makes for a great... I've lived here for 21 years, and I just love the spirit of this community. And I love the fact that you guys are doing this, because you obviously do, too. You're not going anywhere, right? So you're going to be on his list for future productions.
I
right?
hope so.
This is a litmus test.
Is it?
Yeah, he called me this morning and he said, "We'll see how they do. I think they'll be fine, and then we'll go from there."
Well, I don't. You brought your daughter to the Encore Center, and this is brand new to me, and it has been such a pleasure.
Right.
And Jacob is he's just great.
Yeah.
I'm just really enjoying every minute.
Yeah. Time stands still when you're practicing and rehearsing. Your life all of a sudden gets put on the back of your shoulder. You can't see it and worry because you have to hyper focus on what you're doing, the task at hand. we're not in that situation a lot as we become adults, right? This is a different. It's like going back to school. And
it's definitely outside the comfort zone, I think, for especially for Janet and I. But to me, that things are happening so quickly that you're absolutely right. It's like nothing else matters.
Right.
I couldn't water my plants. I sent
Right.
my husband out to do that because I had things to do.
Right.
The first few days felt very serious, and they were also physically exhausting, which I did not expect. And we're not dancing. We're not running around. Well, maybe a little bit, but
right.
But very quickly, I mean, I would say only 3-4 days went by, and we were finally able, like I mentioned before, to have that a little bit of lightheartedness and laughter with each other. And that really was a turning point for me in this process.
The other thing about Steel Magnolias is that it's so easy to identify with, and you have to, if you really like it, which I can tell you both do, that will help the quality of the way you present it. I mean, because it resonates with all of us. It's got so much universal appeal. Not like you're playing a part. You're sharing something together.
Well, and I think
Janet?
the other actors bring so much. I
Right.
mean, and we've really kind of, I hope, melded together.
Absolutely.
And they're just wonderful.
Right. When you mentioned your daughter had worked with Jacob, and now you are, it talks a little bit about the roots that the Encore Center is starting to put down here. I know you've worked with a lot of private schools where you will lease out your space.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the theater, the space, the location, what is offered, and some future plans.
Yep. So we're right downtown Southern Pines, 160 East New Hampshire Avenue,
Right.
which is the old Powell Funeral Home.
Right.
So we have renovated that, and it's actually two sides. We have a for-profit studio side, which is our side that we have dance classes, acting, singing, lessons on any instrument you can name, kinder music classes. Arlene teaches a tap class for our senior ladies of the community. So we run the gamut over there, and we're kind of nurturing them and bringing them up to then transfer to our nonprofit side, which is the theater side of it.
Right.
So we have created when we're at full capacity, it's a 160-seat house, but it's intimate at the same time, small. And so we're running both those spaces side by side, and they help each other out, and we teach the kids and then bring them onto our stage. So
the Langfords have made a mark here.
Absolutely.
It's intimate. It's homey. There's a special character to the center, and to even refer to it as the Powell Funeral Home, it is no longer. It is the Encore Center.
It is.
And it's taken on that little bar that you have, that little refreshment concession up front. It's just quaint.
Yeah.
Everything about it is quaint, and I hope people use Steel Magnolias as the reason to get in there if they have not, because people have heard of it.
They should. It's amazing. And, just this summer we did new space out front. We've paved our grass out front, and we've put some seating out there so you can come and sit outside a little bit and just relax.
Right.
So it's just a nice little family-friendly place to be.
Tell me real quickly about any upcoming productions beyond Steel Magnolias.
Yeah, so our season this year is all movies. And I didn't really realize that going into it, but they have all been movies. So after this, we're going into a show called The Innocents, which is our Halloween kind of. It's about these two children that get sent to their uncle's manor in England, and there's two ghosts that haunt the house. For Christmas, we're doing A Christmas Story, but we're doing the play version, not the musical. So it's based on the movie again. It's going to be wonderful. Our winter camp in January for the kids is Guys and Dolls. After that, our dinner theater, which you premiered at. This year for the dinner theater, we're doing Around the World in 80 Days, but it's only done with 5 actors. So the 5 actors play 39 roles, which is a lot of fun.
Wow.
And then we'll close our season with a small musical called Spitfire Grill.
Okay.
So
I wish you guys all the very best.
Thank you.
It's going to be a
Thank you.
great experience. I definitely will be coming and
Come 9
cheering you on.
times.
Huh?
Come 9 times.
Yeah, you know what? I might. I'll bring the picture with me, and people, what is this guy doing? It's just Steel Magnolias is a great play, and for anyone who's seen the movie and never heard of the fact that it was a play, come and see it. It will give you an understanding about Steel Magnolias that you couldn't get from the movie, and it'll touch everyone's heart. I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Jacob,
Thank
it
you.
was great.
Thank you.
Arlene, Janet, thank you guys for coming in. I'm sorry you couldn't bring the rest of your supporting crew, cast, but we look forward to seeing you in about a week or so.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Steel Magnolia, September 10th through the 19th at the Encore Center in downtown Southern Pines. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.